Hi, Susanna. Good to see you.
Wow, that was.
She saw
Hi,
us coming
hello,
on.
greetings all. It's good to
Excuse me.
see you. It's good to be seen. Right, it's good to be seen, right?
Always.
Yeah. that was another one of my dad's saying, Somebody'd say, "Good to see you. It's good to be seen." My dad was a real character. I didn't appreciate that man until he'd been dead 20 years. I don't think.
Oops.
Yeah, it was amazing. The older I got, the smarter my dad got.
Hi, Joe. Good to see you.
Hey there, hi Joe. I've stolen just
Hello,
about all of
Ellie.
his good sayings now. At least I do attribute them to him. As my old man used to say, and then I'd come up with whatever. But amazing some of the sage wisdom that old man put forward that I didn't appreciate when I was a younger man. I wish I had. You too, huh?
Boys are going to be screaming.
I think that was Kareem.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Sometimes you can tell their voices apart. Sometimes you can't.
Kareem's the only one that screams exactly like that.
That's true. That's a very Kareem scream right there. Now, when Bravo lets go, totally different. And when Gandhi gets going, it's very distinctively him.
Burgers for breakfast, Joe?
Why not?
Susanna, I said hi to you when you first came on. You said they were
Ellie,
great.
hi Ellie.
I had
Quiet.
avocado toast for breakfast this morning.
I'm having coffee. So anyway, I think what's the title for today, sweetheart? What'd you end up putting?
What's going on with
What's
you?
going on with you? That's right.
For them to tell us what's going on in their life.
Come on, cough it up. What's going on? Let's go. Let's get moving here. It's like I watch golf, as everybody knows, and there's a couple of golfers out there who have a routine before every shot or every putt that just drives me nuts. And oftentimes the commentators and the cameras will be stuck on this one guy while he goes through this whole routine to make a 10-foot putt. And it might take 2.5 minutes for him to get up there and finally stand over the ball and tap it. And I'm constantly just hollering at him saying, and Kate will verify this because my language ain't all that nice when I'm doing it. Just, come on, you dumb, just get up there and hit the frickin' ball. Just swing. Just do something. But they're just wandering around, looking at it.
They look at it from all angles. They get down like they're going to make a pool shot on the grass. They step back and forth from one foot to the other to try and get their weight right. They make sure their hands are exactly right on the clubs.
And then they step back and start all over again. It'll kill you. I swear to God, you just want to strangle them.
Ellie, it's not raining here, but it's overcast like crazy.
And there's other golfers out there that really have
Hello, Country Homestead
a
Preacher.
very abbreviated routine. They go up there, they look at it, might talk to their caddy a little bit, stand behind the ball, choose their club.
Hi, Amy.
Take a couple practice swings, stand up there and swing and go for it. And those guys, I feel sorry for them waiting on these other guys because they want to play.
Susanna, don't you feel sorry for, I'm sorry, but don't you feel sorry for people like that can't do anything, so they have to hire it all done? You lose your sense of pride of having done it myself.
Well, but see, that kind of stuff can hit any of us. I mean,
she said female doesn't know how to do pretty much anything.
Well, now, if you're talking about down to like hanging a picture on the wall, yeah, that's pretty sad. But
they're supposed to be a homesteader, and she can't do anything. It's to hire everyone.
Homesteader.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's kind of got a preset list of talents and skills, doesn't it? Yes. There's some prerequisites for you to be called a homesteader. Step up and be questioned.
You must know how to at least hang a picture on the wall.
Can you build a chicken coop?
I'm not a homesteader. I can't build a chicken coop.
Yeah. Well, maybe more accurately, could you? Because if you had to, you could, right?
Probably.
Yeah, well. Your phone is ringing wherever
I know. It's ringing in my ear, and I'm ignoring it.
Oh.
I'll get it after and find out. People know that I'm on my live stream right now, and I'm not going to answer. Hi, Billy. Good to see you too. I guess
Hey,
they're
Billy,
just
how you
determined.
doing? Is Amy? Oh, Amy's here. Hi, Amy.
Amy and Brett.
Oh, Brett, too. Hey.
Brett, are you at the firehouse?
Yeah, there you go. After watching a video, you can build a chicken coop. That's it. You learn from the internet.
Thank you.
We have no internet. We have no homesteaders. Wait a minute.
John from North Shore is not going to be here today. He's working, so he sent his love via Brett. Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
That's right. I forgot. Sorry. He's off work for health reasons for, 3 months or so. He goes back, works 2 days, and now he's on 3 weeks of vacation.
Yeah, I saw the picture after you shaved and went back to work. Yeah, or was getting ready to go back to work.
You're probably right, Ellie. He probably is a telemarketer.
More likely. I get so many of those. I must have 500 block numbers on my phone, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
More than that, probably. But it doesn't do any good to block
Joe,
them. I just call in on the rollover.
Joe, you're a caregiver. You may not be a homesteader, but you're a caregiver. Right now, I'm a little of both.
Yeah, Joe, I think we've determined that you're a pretty caring guy, so don't worry about it.
And speaking of hiring things, my husband has put out a call to the community. He's going to try and hire me a maid to do some of the heavy stuff that I just can't do.
I swear to God, Kate just won't.
Hi, Ruth. Can't just what? Kate just can't
Well,
what?
and I can fully understand it. She doesn't want somebody else coming in here poking around her stuff.
I just don't want strangers in my house.
That's my point too. Exactly. So, but we got to get somebody in here to help with the high dusting, dust the light fixtures and the fans and above the door sill. I mean, all the stuff that you just don't want to do. The windows, and at least some of them on the inside and outside, like for the porch. And it's just the scut work that I would do actually if we were going to do like spring cleaning and things of that sort, because then I would be doing all that big stuff. But unfortunately, those days are gone. So we need somebody to be a logical me.
And I just have this automatic objection. I can't even control it. I can't even stop it. When he says hire someone, I just step back and blink my eyes and go, no.
Yeah, I know. And
it's silly because it would help, but I just can't seem to.
Yeah,
Can't
Amy,
seem to get into that.
we'll pay you well, Amy. We'll pay you well.
Yeah, move closer to you. Can we get what we got here closer to you? Probably not. At least not for the same money we got it here.
Yeah, this is
When I'm ready to size down, that's when I'm moving close to you, Amy.
a very comfortable place to live, but because of the changes in health and mobility, mainly on my part, it's becoming very difficult to maintain. And Kate is doing a wonderful job of what she can do, but there are just other things that are
Can't do it all. Hi, Eric. Good to see you.
can't get them done. There's just no time, and it's not. Again, we'll go back to one of my dad's sayings: "The spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak."
Yeah.
She's
Eric
got it
says
in her
hi.
to do it all. Hi there. She's got it in her to do all that. It's just
And I might have a better chance of doing it if I were not also caring for my mother and dad.
absolutely.
Things when you start caring for more people outside than you're caring for inside your home, it takes you away from your home, which means there's not as much time or energy to do the things around the house.
You know what? It doesn't just physically take you away from the home, darling. It mentally takes you away too.
I know. That's what I mean.
I know you spend a lot of time thinking about
Yep.
what's coming because it's inevitable. I mean, Tom is going downhill almost daily.
Yep.
And,
You're right, Allie. Having someone else have to maintain that stuff is nice, but having to ask permission to move things around or paint a room is a pain. I would prefer to have to deal with the repairs and be able to do what I want in my own home. I'm kind of sticky that way. Thank you very much, Eric.
Hello, Eric.
Susanna says dehydrated
Isn't that
mushrooms
that's
and
our-
jarred up celery is on right now, $3 a bunch. Whoa, that's a great price, Susanna.
Isn't Eric our young man?
Hmm?
Eric's our young
Yes,
man, isn't he?
yes.
Hi,
Billy,
Eric.
we're in Central South Texas, or South Central Texas, whichever way you want to look at it. We're near San Antonio, if that tells you anything.
We're between San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah. I agree.
On the I-35 corridor heading north.
I agree. It's not a sign of weakness. It's just I have this
It's kind of a phobia.
basic hesitation to trust. And if someone wants to come into my house that I don't know, I watch them very closely because I'm afraid they're going to. Because I've been ripped off so many times, I'm afraid I'm going to get it again.
With her, yeah. Kate has been cleaned out, so she's her. The issues with Kate is that she trusts too easy. So
used to, not anymore.
That's true. But,
used to, I trusted just about anybody with anything.
And they took advantage of her on several occasions.
Yes, and it was not just strangers. In one case, it was a family member that, well, it was my youngest sister's husband. They split up, and he came to me and said, I want to get off the road, because they were over-the-road truck drivers. And he said, I want to get off the road. Your sister wants to stay on, and she said that you would help me if I asked, so I need a place to stay. So I cleared out a room and gave him a place to stay.
Big mistake.
About 6 months later, I found out he'd been stealing everything that he could get his hands on that was not immediately obvious and selling it, so he had money. And I found that out because a stranger walked up to my door and knocked on it, had my jewelry box in her hand, and she said, did you know this man that called him my name? And I said, yes. And she said, well, he gave me this, and I don't believe that he meant to have it. I think he may have taken it from you. And she had my jewelry box and a lot of the family heirloom jewelry that he had stolen. So I started being a little bit more untrusting. Yeah.
But anyway, the point,
I'm not going to clean. If we hire a maid, they're going to do the cleaning.
We've reached the point where you're going to, you and I both. I mean, I have the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the thought of strangers coming into my house and poking around in my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna hopefully.
High country homestead preacher.
The only good part about it is hopefully we'll find someone that we can trust. Kind of like Tom and Mimi have. That woman's worked for them for how long now?
Oh, 15,
20
20
years?
No, they haven't been married 20 years.
Well,
They've
yeah,
been
but-
married 17, but still.
But
As long as they've been
the same
together.
woman has worked for Mimi and Tom for
That's my mom and dad.
15 years or more. So, after a while, that's okay. But breaking somebody in and finding out who they are up front and trust them to come into your home and see all your civvies, that's a big deal. So anyway, I'm proud of you for letting us go through with it. I hope they do call you, and I hope it works out. So
I
anyway,
hope it does too. Totally amazes me that someone could be harder to
Diamond.
steal from someone helping them. Well,
There-
that's not the only
I'll tell
time
you
that's
what.
happened.
God, how do you go into stuff like this?
When I left
Everybody will let you down sooner or later. That's all there is to it.
Texas
Except Kate.
to go get married to David, I left a very, very dear friend in the home that I owned here in Texas to care for it while I was gone. All she had to do was pay her own expenses. I charged her no rent or anything like that. And when I came back 18 months later, not only was she not living in the house, she had turned it over to someone who had turned it into a place of ill repute. And all of my neighbors
Basically, it
knew
was
that.
kind of a crack house. Plus, you'd also put it on the market to rent.
Yes.
And as we are pulling up with our U-Haul truck to occupy this home, this other person shows up with documents saying that they've just rented this place.
Yes.
And I'm standing there in the yard saying, look, this is the owner, and you're not renting it from the owner. You have been taken, and whatever monies you put into this, I don't really give a shit, because you ain't coming in that door, friend. This is not your house. And we almost had a fight right there in the front yard before they'd leave. So we went back in, and let's take a side road here. That part just really gets ugly. I don't even like to think about it anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
That was a long time ago. That was back in 2012. So
Long time
we've
ago.
moved beyond that, and
And God's taking care of the situation and the people involved. So.
okay. I'm not even going to go there, but yeah. Karma's an ugly thing sometimes, folks. Really ugly. But anyway.
It's amazing when you sit back and let God take care of things, how well he does it. You sometimes have to be patient to see it happen. But he does it
Well,
beautifully.
it's tragic when it comes around and it's like, holy shit. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, that's about right.
Back in the 80s, I worked for the University of Texas in Austin. And I was working in a science lab. And it was run by a woman who really didn't like me. You're going to your pond to try and catch fish, you and Uncle Heaven. Oh, thank you, Eric. I hope you have luck catching your fish.
Yeah, got big ones.
Anyway, I was working in a science lab. And the lady who hired me, who was the director of the lab, decided she did not like me. She fired me for bringing my religious views into the lab, which I did not do. I had a Bible that I read on my lunch hour that sometimes sat on my desk. And people would ask me questions about my belief, and I would answer them, or I would ask them questions about their beliefs, and they would answer me. Well, she fired me for bringing my religion into the workplace.
For proselytizing, basically.
Yes. So I left the university, and about 5 years later, I ran into someone who had worked in that lab with me. And come to find out from talking with that person, over the 6 to 8 months after I left, they went through 4 other people who took my position. Couldn't get anybody to stay because she was so difficult to work with. And then after that, she passed away and they closed the lab. I said, Lord, you didn't really have to take her home, but thank you for taking care of it anyway. So.
Okay, lady, I'll give you a few more chances, but remember, you had Kate. And if this one won't work, this one won't work. Hey, your time is over, lady.
Yeah.
And just write it down, you know.
Fate's
a funny thing, and
when he's ready to take care of things,
name, yeah. That keeps breaking into my house.
Some
my
guys keep
gosh.
breaking into my house. He no longer is in my life.
Well,
since 2011, cops won't do anything.
I hate to be so black and white about it, but do you have a gun?
That does, by the way, discourage people from breaking in.
See, here in Texas, somebody comes in that door and I blow them away. Everybody says hip hip hooray. Kill them outside. Oh, then I'm in
you
trouble.
got another thing.
Then I'm in trouble. But if they're inside my residence, hell, I can brace them up against the wall and shoot them with a bow and arrow and, whatever. Well, home and hearth. And that's, you'll never talk me out of that one being right. If you're inside my house, you mean me no good if I don't know you're here and don't want you here.
To use them the whole
So,
family. Good, Joe.
Yeah.
Good.
What we have here is adequate, but most certainly not impressive in terms of options for self-defense. But I got a lot of stuff hidden around the house. I'm a blade man, for one thing. I like knives.
I prefer
knives.
I prefer guns.
So I've got a samurai sword, a real deal, stashed in a place where it can be gotten to real easy. I've got a 15-inch Bowie knife. That's blade length.
I just need a Smith & Wesson, Amy. That would take care of everything.
Let's see. I've got a what's the name of that knife? Entertain the folks for a minute. I got to think.
Joe, you sent me that picture,
man.
and I thought, and that's a very interesting looking weapon. What I was going to say is you don't have to use the weapon as long as you have it. The gentleman who turned my house into a house of ill repute came to the door after we'd moved back in. And I had a weapon in a holster in my hand behind my back. And I was standing, feet spread shoulder wide, talking to him through the screen door. And as I was talking, the holster fell off the gun because I had my hand around the gun, not the holster, and fell on the floor. He saw the holster fall on the floor and was determined I was coming after him. He turned around and left, and I never saw him again. I didn't have to pull it. I didn't have to use it. He just had to think I had it and was ready to.
It's well done.
And
okay, look, no guns. He's in Canada. He won what? $333,000 in 2000 and brags about making $400,000 a year. And he's breaking into your house. Well, you might just say, hi, how are you? Good to see you again. And then blow it away. Oh,
Amy said, get a big dog and train the dog to bite in the right place.
There you go. That might be the better idea for you folks up there in Canada. And I mean no disrespect here, but Canadians are certainly known as nonviolent people, for which I'm very grateful. But they're overly polite. It's please me, I shoot you. And thank you for allowing me
Force
to.
trauma is your friend in Canada.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good.
Yeah, you, Diamond, I would hate to think that you are
That's
at
Susanna.
risk. Susanna, I would hate to think that you're at risk. You have every right to defend yourself. Now, and I say this as a man, okay? There's a whole lot of men out there that I think give the male of the species a very bad name, very bad. And a man who takes advantage of a woman physically, emotionally or mentally, whatever you want to call it, simply by size or overbearing nature or being demanding and perhaps physically abusive and all those things that go together, those guys, if I could roll them up in a little ball, I'd take them out and drown every frickin' one of them. It's wrong. A man with dignity does not treat a woman like that, period.
Right.
There's no way in the world that I would ever do anything to instill fear in Kate's heart. And any man who does that to a woman, in my life, in my mind, is a worthless piece of shit. And do with that what you want. Where'd that soapbox go?
It's under your chair. That's why you keep going on.
I'm sorry, Susanna, but some would say that, okay, you're an overly gentle soul because I really have no malice toward anyone anymore. It took me 74 years to get here.
And it took me almost 20 years to convince him to go there.
I have not attained this level of easily. So maybe the advice I give you ain't worth a darn because of it, but even with the situation that I'm in, I'm still a pretty tranquil kind of guy. And unless you piss me off, and then I'd kill you. But
That's a joke.
okay.
Dog will be trained to bite his prairie oysters clean off.
There you go. There you go. That would cool his jets. Yep.
That would definitely
Prairie
slow
oysters.
things down.
Prairie oysters. Yeah, well,
Uh-huh.
I guess it just depends on where you live, huh? Okay, so anyway, moving on. Oh God, there was something I was going to talk about too.
You told
See,
me.
my idea for today's topic was actually current events.
Oh, I like this.
What?
Joe, he's peaceful too, but he keeps the bayonet fixed just in
There you
case.
go. There you go.
I like that attitude.
Joe, I was just talking about all the knives I got over the house. I've got some fighting blades. I've got some double-edged stilettos. I've got switchblades. I'm armed to the teeth with knives because and plus I got a whole kitchen full
I
of.
was going to say, I got all my kitchen knives.
They're all pretty much. They still pretty sharp.
They're starting to get a little
All
bit.
right, they're normally pretty razor sharp, and there's no place that I frequent here except right here. I don't think I have a weapon here.
Mm-mm.
But if I'm in the living room, I'm no more than a few feet from at least something to defend myself with. If I'm in bed, I've got 1, 2, 3 weapons, 5 weapons.
If anybody came at you here, you could just pick me up and hit them over the head.
Yeah, let's be realistic. I don't think I can handle 200 pounds anymore. That was obviously a joke, folks. But anyway, I got 5 weapons in the bedroom alone, that I can get to one way or another.
Yep.
So yeah, they can come at me, but unless I just get really, really scared, I figure I can do some damage before I go down.
Well, I prefer a gun simply because with a blade you have to get close. And if I'm going to do something to harm someone, I don't particularly want them anywhere near me when I do it. The further away they are, the better, as long as they're inside the house. So if anything happens, I can say I was afraid for my life.
Well, that's true. I'd rather take them out at 10 feet, but, push comes to shove, I'll get up close. I don't care.
I do. I'm not trained for it,
I
and
don't
I'm
care.
not strong enough. So
Or if nothing else, anyway. I'd do what I could.
let's see, I've
I
got
wouldn't go
3
down
I
easy
can
up it
reach
that way.
at least anywhere in the house. We aren't getting killed for lack of shooting back.
Yep,
Right?
there you go. That's right.
Just train the grandbirds. You'll
Yeah.
be fine.
You know
I just
what?
let Gandhi go.
They are probably our first line of defense, to be real honest about it. You come breaking into somebody's house in the middle of the night, You upset a macaw, day or night, they will let you know.
Hi, Christy.
And one thing I kind of figure is if somebody came creeping in on little tippy toes, it might well shake the birds up and they'd let go.
Oh, I'm
They'd
sure
let
because
loose.
I know it would wake Sandy up. Just going into the kitchen every night wakes him up.
And there's Christy Betts. Hi. Good to see you.
Christy, how's your sister?
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Bless you.
I wish my voice would settle down a little bit.
Drink some plain water.
May I have some of your water?
This is not plain water, but you're welcome to
It's
try
not
it.
plain water?
It's not
Is
plain
it special water?
Yes.
And how is it special?
Taste it and see.
It's safe though, right?
Well, I'm drinking it. Hi, Wendy. Good to see you. Guys, it's
Man, that's
flavored water.
nasty.
It is white grape juice flavored water.
That is white grape shit flavored water.
I warned you.
Oh man, God, that is nasty stuff. I can't get it out of my mouth.
It's your own fault. You were warned.
I thought Johnson said, yeah, man, I'll drink some water and get rid of this phlegm I got stuck in my throat. Well,
You want me to go get you some
I
plain
think I'll
water?
live with this. No,
Or
never
would
mind.
you like to have another sip?
Okay.
Amy's laughing so hard she's crying.
Folks, I'm telling you, that's some nasty stuff there. You drink that by choice? They're not paying you to drink that? God almighty.
No, I like it. Matter of fact, I go to a special store to buy it. Got to go to a special store to buy special water, you know.
Is that called Idiots R Us? Oh, man.
You're right. Those are weird laws.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he hurts himself while burglarizing me, first of all, he's going to have to survive his injuries. Then he can sue me.
Well, I'm glad she's doing a little better, Christy. At least you're not fearing for her life.
Oh, my.
You think your voice is a little better now?
Oh, yeah, definitely better. Definitely better, yeah.
I bet next time he asks for a drink of water and I tell him it's my special water, he won't want it.
Well, I mean, special water does make it sound sort of attractive.
Not anymore. Wendy, we did pretty well. The only problems we had with the cold weather was we lost water, and we were several days without water, and I did a lot of melting snow to get some things done. Now, I already had about 30 gallons of water set aside, but that's not enough if you're going to use it for flushing as well.
We went about 5 days without water. Mm-hmm. Luckily, when we did get it back, we only had 2 leaks, both outside, and David, the guy that lives up in front of us, it's kind of tell the story. He's jack of all trades. He came and fixed it. So
he did. I told him. I thought we had at least one broken faucet. He came down and we walked the yard together and found the 2 problems. And he took off and got the parts and came back and fixed it, so I didn't have to. And I really appreciate that because the last time we had a cold like that, I had to go around and fix them all. And while I can do it, I'd rather have someone else do it for me. Yeah, Wendy, that's the reason I store it, because when they built the areas that we live in and when they plumbed for the 2 houses on the property, everything is very shallowly dug. You can drive across our yard in your car and break water pipes. So he's had, Amy says you need elderberry syrup because the special water messed him
already
up.
had it today, but man.
He's had it today.
That was a rather dramatic episode. I'm sorry to
Anyway, so
put that all on the screen.
while we had the faucets dripping, and I have pool noodles taped around all of the outside faucets. They still two of them broke. So
I'm back. I'm sorry about that, folks. I don't mean to subject to that. That's just kind of a little impromptu spasm. Let's make sure as long as they're really working good. Like earlier today, I got to where I would have I'll have an attack of sneezes.
Oh, I got my special water.
And yeah, well, so I was sneezing not too long after I got up, and I mean it's just one sneeze after another. And by the time I'm done, I can barely breathe. But anyway, yeah, I do actually, Joe. I'm on it right now. This is it right here. So it's a 10 liter, as a matter of fact. So it's
he does have a bubbler on his now.
The first one I had was a 5 liter, and
hello, Howie.
I outgrew that one. So this is the next step up, and got oxygen bottles tanked on or strapped onto the back of my wheelchair, and another one on my walker. So I'm in pretty good shape for an old man. It's, I'm not a well man, but anyway. So what's else going on here?
And he's not a well man, and he has a few health problems too.
But other than that, I'm in good health, except for the things that are wrong with me.
He's in pretty good shape.
I'm not diabetic. I'm not. My potassium levels are good. My
levels are good.
My blood levels all checked out to be A-OK.
That reminds me, I had my blood levels run 2 weeks ago.
How'd you do?
Everything was normal. Everything was absolutely normal. My kidneys are fine. My liver is fine. I'm not a diabetic. I'm not even pre-diabetic. Everything is great.
That was the other thing the doctor told me. Actually, the guy that gave me this report on the blood is also Kate's doctor. He's a urologist, but
no, he's a nephrologist.
Nephrologist, okay. But I took him on kind of more as a urologist, and he definitely helped me out. But he covers, and I'll tell you what, this guy knows how to relate the inner workings and the less subtle things, or more subtle things, involved in your body than you would think of. I mean, he's just a smart guy. So I've taken him on this.
Amy says maybe this fish of water is good for me.
Well, I tell you what, if it works for her, that's fine. I'll have to find something else or die. I mean, that's all there's time to do. I could not drink a bottle of that stuff. You know that crap they give you before you, what is it? Oh, before they're going to do a barium X-ray on on your. I mean, that's the
thing they do when they're checking your sugars.
Yeah, those are nasty. I'd drink that before I drink this stuff. Yeah. I'd need some ice in it, but I could still handle it a lot better than that. Woo.
I've also started drinking. What's the water that we used to buy?
Alkaline water.
Alkaline. I've started getting alkaline water and drinking that, and that really helped me feel better. I can tell the difference.
If we could swing it, it'd be nice to go back to that. I wonder if there's any way we could get it delivered.
Actually, no, but we can buy a filter that goes on the back of the refrigerator, and then we have it in our ice and in our water and everything.
That's true. When we were getting water there, we really didn't have the avenue to go ahead and put in a large filter in the house.
Right.
So we could at least talk to them about that now. Okay. Yep. I think we just spent some money, folks. I hate to say it, but I think we just spent a substantial sum of money. I learned to keep my mouth shut.
$75 to purchase it and $25 a month for the new filters.
Well, I was thinking more about the installation of it and all that stuff. But hey, if it's
I can install it. You just screw it onto the back of your refrigerator where
the ice now that's where the expense comes in. That's where the expense comes in. There is no point in putting a filter like that on a refrigerator that old and broke down, and we'd have to have a new fridge.
Well,
but hey, I got news. I got news to tell everybody. We'll talk about the refrigerator too. That's not out of the question.
Okay.
There's the money I was talking about, folks. See, I was right.
Thank you, Howie. I appreciate you reminding people to hit the thumbs up.
This week, I found out that we did get approved for a VA grant to do some initial upgrades on the house, some remodeling, some residential modifications. Now, there were 2 grants that I have in mind. The first one, which we have been given, is worth about $20,000. The other one that I have an application in for that seems to have just kind of gotten lost in the hustle somewhere is for about $90,000. So obviously we'd like to have the other one. You can't have them both in conjunction, but actually I can have this one. And then whenever this money is exhausted, turn around and cash in on the one for the larger amount. So anyway.
I agree, Elliot. It's good news.
Oh, it's great news. I mean, at least we get something started here. Our initial goal is we need another door because the VA says that having only one doorway in and out for me because of the wheelchair, et cetera, ain't going to cut it. So they're willing to put in another doorway to get me out. Well, the back of the house is about 4 foot off the ground.
Annie.
And we need a door to go out that, and that happens to be the bird room, which means we get double doors that are 72 inches tall or so, which is possible because they're 9-foot ceilings. We can open up a double door where we can get bird cages out onto a deck that's hopefully
more than 6 foot by 6 foot.
Maybe 12 by 15 or something like that. I mean, I'd like to have now. Lumber is real expensive right now, but that's, we'll have to see. But anyway, that comes out onto a deck of some area. And then a ramp goes down to the backyard and also stairs go down to the backyard. We'll see. But that's our first job. The second job would be to remodel a master bath. But, whether there's enough, I'm not saying 20 grand is going to go all on that project there, but we don't know. So
We haven't gotten any prices yet.
Yeah,
We really don't know.
I've got feelers out for a couple of bids. One guy's coming by Tuesday to take a look at it and give us an estimate. I had to have 3 to go to the VA and then pick a contractor, and somehow or other they get with it. I have no idea how the money works or, who gets billed or whether they just, here, Dave, here's 20 grand, put it in the bank, spend it wisely. I don't know.
Probably not.
I'm thinking no, unless they're really stupid because a lot of folks, Cancun, here we come. Oh, wait, I'm not Ted Cruz. I can't say that. But anyway, so yeah, it's good news.
Let's hope the VA doesn't watch our live stream.
Yeah. Costa Rica, here we come. So anyway.
Yeah, it is awesome. It would be really nice to have that back door or a back door because right now the only door we have is the front door. And if anything happens to block us from the front door, we're just out of luck.
We have a doorway out through the laundry room, which technically, I mean, I can make it in the wheelchair, but it's a tricky little trip because
it's not even
right outside the door is a concrete slab that is an incline down to the garage floor. It's what, maybe 3 foot off the ground?
No, it's a little more than that.
Okay,
probably
so it's
closer to 4.
All right, that's kind of like the back of the house. So anyway, but the little pad where you go out and there's no rails, the little pad I go out and have to turn my wheelchair on is maybe 3 foot square. So it's a little tricky to get out there and go, okay, here we go.
Go to Louisiana.
And it's pretty steep going down that little grate too. It's not ADA compatible.
Not at all.
So anyway, it'll be nice to get a back door. It'd be really, really nice to get that deck. Oh God. That would change our world substantially.
It would. It would change our birds' world too.
Dramatically.
It would change. It would allow me to roll their cages, which are huge, out onto the deck and literally take a power washer and wash it down.
Yeah.
How he says his chainsaw makes doors real quick.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, that'll be really nice because, gosh, ideally, the deck would be facing
the west.
Well, more south,
Northwest.
More south than west. South is right there.
No, darling, that's north.
I'm sorry, north. You're right. My apologies. But anyway, so we're facing more
north than west.
Yeah, we're facing a little more north than west, but enough west so that, you got the afternoon sun, but then there's a line of trees out there too that render quite a bit of shade to this deck area. Mm-hmm. So in the late afternoon, whenever it's still pretty hot, and it'll be covered, we're pretty sure we'll be able to get a covered deck.
Hi, Celtic.
I can go out and see going out there as the weather gets a little more pleasant of an evening, but before sundown, and sitting out there in the evening. And that would, to me, that would be just wonderful. I would love it.
And I'd love to put some kind of a roof on it like we did on the
Yeah,
front porch. That
I'm
would be even better.
seeing covered. I'm actually, ideally, darling, what I'm seeing is the potential to make it like a Florida room,
Oh, that would be awesome.
where we would have, screens and windows and all that if we wanted it. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But,
about that.
initially,
That would make it a
Obviously-
3-season porch at least.
yeah, exactly. And, but room for a couple of the bird cages out there at once, get that away from me. Don't you ever do that to me again, woman. Yeah. Hey, Celtic, how you doing there, big guy? Okay, so
How did your appointment go on Monday, Celtic?
how'd that go for you?
And have you heard yet about the chair?
Yeah, that's quite a chair you had there, boy. That's a good one. For those that don't know, Celtic, I guess, got an approval for a new chair, and he sent me a picture of it. I mean, it's a Ferrari wheelchair. I'll tell you that right now.
It looks wonderful.
The one that I had that broke.
I said I broke it. I took
Well,
responsibility.
there might be folks here that didn't know that. But anyway, it stopped operating right after Kate got a hold of it.
I
that
ran
one-
it into the door jamb and broke it.
I don't know. It just dropped on that. It cracked the motherboard. What else can you say? Anything can do that. You can breathe on those things wrong and they'll crack sometimes. Anyway, that one had umpty 11 functions too. So
Yeah, it did. And it was
okay.
it had been
Amy
jacked up
wants a
so
back
it'd go
porch.
real fast.
Amy wants a back porch.
Joe, I also
Yeah,
have a
still
manual
like getting ready for
wheelchair.
We do have a manual. Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Christy said I told him no folks in Lake Charles. He laughed and said, "Yeah, homesteaders and preppers." Is that a homesteader and prepper headquarters around y'all there?
No, that's where Brett and Amy live.
I know, but the Lake Charles area, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Oh.
Actually, I have no idea. Amy, are you guys part of any larger community of preppers and homesteaders in your area, or do you just kind of a standalone outfit? I mean, other than the folks that you know here from, Facebook, I'm asking an obvious question. They obviously have partners nationwide. They got people come in and see them from all over. But anyway, you know what I mean.
Joe, the one I broke was the one that we were given for him to
Oh.
use until they would pay for one. And then when that one broke, we just bought a better one or a good
Doctor's
one.
appointment was Jack City. He said, I did need a chair. Scooter, not one. Damn.
Scooter, but insurance doesn't pay for one. Oh,
Celtic, let me give you a piece of advice on this. All you need to go to Medicare with, if that's how you're going, is a prescription for a motorized wheelchair. Who it comes from, what physician, makes no never mind. I got one from my general practitioner. I got another one from my pulmonologist. So I could have gone either way. So you might just think about just going to another doctor, a little more sympathetic to your needs, because all you need is just a handwritten prescription for one and you're good to go. I wish you the best of luck, partner. I'm sorry you didn't get it.
Amy says most people around there are
Yep, there you go.
preppers, but they don't see it
It's
as
just living.
prepping.
Yep, it's just living. That's right. Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't get about homesteading and prepping, is that
It's really just
this
living.
is not an extraordinary lifestyle, folks. This is the lifestyle that existed 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago or more. You were as prepared as possible for what your environment was going to be dealing you.
Mhm.
You had the skills necessary to operate in said environment,
Or you learned them real
or
quick.
you knew who to barter and trade with to get the products and services that you couldn't provide for yourself. Thus was born communities, towns, cities,
Mhm.
But it all comes back down to what's right outside that door out there, getting down to Mother Earth and dealing with it on that level.
What it comes down to is not having the instantly available everything that we did
Exactly. Yeah,
recently.
kind of like being back to Mother Earth, just starting there. Yeah.
You prep for hurricanes. They're normal there. Yes.
Yeah,
Having
yeah.
lived 14 years in Corpus, I understand and
Yeah.
agree.
The when we lived in Woodville, it was in a double wide trailer south of Tallahassee, Florida, pretty much in Hurricane Alley, although to get that far north would have taken an exceptional storm. But
Kind of like Katrina.
the storm before and after, and the side of the hurricane coming over us, there were about 3 occasions there in Woodville, at least 2, where I was pretty elevated. The lot I was on stood up pretty well, but the water was up to and inundating my front yard and backyard, and I was a little island unto myself. And with maybe, if had there been another foot of rain,
You would have been.
I would have been, yeah, it would have been up touching the stairs going down and so on. It would have been, real close to coming in. But
And that
so-
particular community had all sand roads.
Oh, God,
they
they
were
were
not
horrible.
paved at all.
horrible,
And when it
horrible.
rained, it would wash the road or the sand from the road down the way. And there were a couple of places where after the rain went away, you could take your wheelbarrow and fill it up and bring your sand back home. And I didn't have a wheelbarrow, but I did have a couple of big totes, and I would fill them up and bring them back and use it again.
The road to get around in that little area was absolutely horrible. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how bad it was. You could drop a whole wheel into one of the holes. Just that you had to know where you were going on that little road to get around it.
And originally, around 2 sides of that property, there was a fairly deep drainage ditch, but the rain had washed so much soil that the ditch wasn't there
It was
anymore.
almost level.
And there were huge dips in the middle of the road. So while we were living there, I hand dug the ditch again and put all the soil that I dug out of the ditch in the middle of the road. So I could solve 2 problems.
She did.
with one.
She did that.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody picking pears so they wouldn't become missiles. Yep.
Use many enthusiasts, but a lot of overlap.
Celtic lives in a hill area on the valley side. No, that's cool. Storms blow over. That's good. Yeah, if you're living on the valley side of those winds coming in, that's a whole lot better place to be. Well, I have what might be some fairly interesting golf to watch this afternoon. It's a course I've never seen before. It's located in Bradenton, Texas, I believe I said it was. No, Bradenton, Florida. I'm sorry, Bradenton, Florida. Which I can't quite recall where that is. I know about where it is.
I don't
It's
have any idea.
part of the Florida swing for the PGA. But the surrounding area, the courses looks like it was just dropped right into Florida land. Because all the native trees, you got some ponds, you got willows, you got hanging moss, you got alligators in the ponds. I mean, it's the perfect picture of the part of Florida that we lived in that I really, really loved.
I did too.
If that land were here, people would be fighting to get to it because it's beautiful. But living in Florida is very, very difficult. And I just found I couldn't do it anymore. I could not live under Florida
Laws.
laws and rules and everything else. I mean, Texas is so much better as far as my own.
Amy, I have learned
So
golf
anyway.
since David and I have been together. I didn't understand it either until we got together, and I've now learned enough that I can talk about it when we watch it.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful course. So I'm getting to see a lot of the old Florida that I really do miss. And there's some really good golfers in this, some guys whose careers I follow, and they've never played this course before. And that's what makes it very interesting. The course is called the Concession. It's been playing with their balls. All right, listen, you want me to unfriend you, that guy? You better take that back right now, or I will unfriend you.
He's right, though.
Don't you be bad-mouthing my golfers.
No, there are men and women,
I'll
and
hit
they
you.
are playing with their
I'll hit
balls.
you in the frickin' nuts with my driver, partner.
Be nice.
Don't be insulting golf. There are rules. There's lines that you do not cross.
I'm going to take your soapbox out from under your chair.
That
You
was no
just too
soap.
wound up today.
That was just an honest opinion. What are you doing?
Please don't. Is that what you said?
No, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm getting ready for prayer requests.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Michigan Daffodil. It's good to see you.
Okay, swallow.
You kids get along now.
We're buds. Yes, we are. We are buds.
Hockey rules, David.
All right, now tell you what. If I
Not in Texas. Sorry,
if I
Joker.
understood hockey, maybe I could agree with you, but I don't, and I don't pretend to. It is fun to watch sometimes, just because it's so damn violent. But that's not my bag, so I mean, it's.
To me, hockey is on the same level as boxing.
Well, I admire the
They
skills that
just
are
get out
needed
there
for it.
and beat each other up for no good reason.
I do admire the skills. I mean, I've ice skated a couple of times, and I had the bruises for weeks to prove it. So I can understand.
I agree, Christy.
Just let me keep it. Yeah.
Joe, you're a fan of boxing? I had a friend who was a fan of boxing, and he used to try to explain to me all the stuff it took to be a good boxer, how you had to train and how you have certain moves that follow other moves and all of that.
There's certain ways to throw certain punches.
But every time I see a boxing match, all I see is two men standing in a ring trying to beat the heck out of each other.
Yeah,
And I just don't.
All right, guys.
I don't enjoy
back
it.
me up on this, gentlemen, if you will.
My neighbor Wendy's new.
There is
lung
nothing
of
more
last night.
primal.
Yay!
than
I'm
standing-
sorry. Michigan,
What?
that's awesome. I am so glad.
Oh my gosh, a lung transplant?
She had two
I
lungs
could use
transplanted.
that. I could use that.
That is awesome news. Prayers for Susan's son and his co-workers. There's an explosion at the plant. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Well, Christy, I'm not big on but I like martial arts. I mean, it's all fake, but the stuff in movies is good. But I don't think I'd go down and pay to watch two guys beat each other half to death. No. No. Joe said he's into blood sports. Sorry, Kate. Well, hey, more power to you.
Let's see.
I tell you, I might go watch a good boxing match now and then if I was raised on boxing. I can tell you that. Back when I was a little kid, this is down in Laredo, Texas. I was like maybe 8 years old. We got our first TV.
Take care, Celtic.
one of
Take
those
good care of him,
screens,
too.
Black and white, you could barely see it. But down in Laredo, they had like two channels. One of them
That's all right, Joe.
broadcast a lot of the Mexican wrestling, which I loved. And the other one broadcast like Friday night fights. And that was an hour of boxing. My mother loved that show. Would not miss it for love nor money. I mean, we ate dinner early so we could sit down and watch that show. And dinner was like a long time, would be there, it'd be square. And we'd eat early so she could watch her boxing. So I was raised on it. And she was a very vocal proponent. You would think she was sitting ringside because she'd be out there hollering at somebody to do this or do that. And she'd look at me and says, I'll take the guy in the dark shorts. And so it was my job to root for the other guy. And we had a really good time fighting back and forth about our boxers. So, yeah, boxing was...
Actually, I like wrestling.
Wrestling,
And I like it because I know that it is made up.
It
is choreographed. They practice their moves.
But it is still quite dangerous. I mean,
yes, it is. People get hurt all the time.
You don't do those kinds of stunts without a whole lot of knowledge about the physics of it. That's for dang sure. Okay.
But oddly enough, and Joe, you will like this, when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to watch on television was the bullfights out of Channel 41 in Laredo.
Wow.
I loved the bullfights.
Yeah,
now I
those,
don't watch it so much, but then I really, really loved it.
Billy said he used to pay his rent by getting in the ring. What was that, like Fight Club?
Howie, you take care. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you were able to come in, and I hope you feel much better. Used to pay my rent by getting in the ring. Boxing ring, Billy?
I think Brett was saying everybody's got tooth problems in the
Yes,
family?
Brett and
Okay.
Amy both have tooth problems. But they've already been on the list. Take care. I hope you get better, Howie. And you've been on our
Take
prayer
care.
list for a while.
I got to go to a couple of bullfights when I lived over in Seville, and then again when I lived in Madrid. So bullfights are quite a bit different in person than what they used to show on television. Quite a bit different. When you see it from beginning to end, by the time it's over with, you're pretty much feeling for the bull. But the good news is that they still, in places where they do still do bullfights to the death, they do slaughter the bull right after the fight, and the meat goes to the poor in that area around the ring. So it does.
The one
go
I
to-
used to
it
watch,
goes-
the
does
meat
go
went to
feed
the
people.
local
And it goes free.
orphanages.
It goes free. So at least it throws a little beef in the diets of some people. But
I've never seen cockfights. He had.
oh God, cockfights! Again, when I was a kid, my dad used to go to chicken fights every weekend for a long time. I loved them. It's amazing. I was raised in a very violent childhood.
Yes, you were.
I mean, I'm out there shooting bobcats and herding cattle and working on a ranch for real, making money. When I was, started out when I was like 6 years old. But anyway, yeah, my dad and I used to go to chicken fights all the time. Illegal as hell. You'd go there and there'd be a deputy sheriff hanging out there betting money with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew? But anyway, yeah, especially, boy, I tell you what, I've seen some Philippine slashers were the irons that just would absolutely devastate the other roosters.
Joe says he was raised the same
They
way.
were like razors. I mean, when I wrote a book about my childhood, I was going to put in a chapter about going to the cockfights. I ultimately did not because it really was so damn violent. And I went and I started looking at some of the leggings that were common in cockfighting and like the Philippine slashers. But there were others. Some of them were just a plain old needle. But anyway, these I kind of got to where I said, I don't know. I don't really have a lot to contribute in terms of any kind of a positive message about doing that. But yeah, I went to cockfights for several years as a kid. And my dad would be up there in front. And most often he made money. Now, my dad was a betting man. He could do that. But he'd be standing up there, waving his money. And what little bit of Mexican he knew from the cockfights. Mm-hmm. So I learned some interesting words at 6 and 7 years old. But that's neither here nor there.
So,
okay.
Christy, the picadors got to him before the matador got out there, huh?
Yeah. That's the thing. They don't realize they tire the bull out considerably before the matador really comes out. That's the job of the picadors and the toreadors, which come out beforehand. The picadors are on horseback, and they stab the bull in the big muscle on his back to weaken him so that he can't lift his head so fast. And then the toreadors come out with their capes and further tire the bull by taking passes before the matador comes out.
What
Again,
on the
tire
horse it's called? I forget.
picadors.
That's the
Yeah.
picadors. Okay.
And again, tire the bull's head and shoulder muscles so he can't throw his head up so high and hard. And then the matador comes out and finishes him off.
Yeah.
So it ain't very sporting, folks. If you put the bull in there and the matador in there, both of them fresh, very often I would say it's going to come out different because that bull's going to be a lot more vicious, a lot more capable than by the time he finally gets offered to the matador. So I didn't like bullfighting. It was unfair.
Dog fights is something I will not
now
go
that I
to.
never
I don't
did.
want to know anything
Never.
about. They make me angry just
Nope.
thinking about it.
If I were to stumble on a dog fight, I'd be hard pressed not to kill every son of a bitch present. Pardon my French, but that's true. That's one of the worst things I can imagine. Well, with animals. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about animals.
I would have been upset too, Christy. Now, when I was a kid, it was just part of what was going on around me, and I didn't know.
Christy is hard to watch. Like I said, I saw. Now, the two that I saw in Seville were different. The one in Madrid was fought to the death. The two in Seville that I watched were not. They were taken to a point where basically the bull would stand still and that's it. The matador, typically to end the fight, would go up and tap the bull on the head with his sword. And then they'd go
That
back.
was the end of the fight.
That was the end of the fight.
Okay.
Now, that bull might go off to slaughter. I never knew. But at least they didn't kill the poor animal. They just went up there and Now, Seville, bear in mind, is the cradle of bullfighting. That's where it started all those hundreds of years ago. So for them to adopt the enlightened approach of, okay, were I to kill you right now, bull, I could do it with this blade. Tap you on the forehead. And basically that's a simulated coup de grace. You go on your way, I'll go on mine. I claim victory. You go back to pasture, or you go to the abattoir, whatever you're going to do. But I appreciate it. I was kind of surprised when I saw it in Madrid, and it went to the kill. I didn't expect
You're right,
that.
Billy.
Yeah, I didn't expect the one in Madrid to be to the death, and it was. Well, 7 fights that day, but anyway, yeah, they were all. A couple of them were really ugly. Anyway, enough of that crap. That was not a good Sunday, by the way. I did not enjoy that day. Okay. When tourists try to play with the buffalo, yeah, the buffalo always wins. I'm not surprised there.
That's kind of like the running of the bulls.
Talk about a beastie, though. I mean, a buffalo, a bison.
Those
My
are big
God.
animals.
Oh, man.
Can you imagine back in caveman days when humans would run those animals down
Yep.
and take their life
Yep.
with nothing but sticks and rocks and things that they
And
found?
spears and, yeah.
I mean, that just amazes me.
Yep, it was. And you know what they did? They hunted like wolves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they would have somebody be a chaser,
Mm-hmm.
then have others pick up along the way.
And they'd
And
have
oftentimes, they would end up guiding, and it might be a whole herd, who knows, but they would end up guiding them off the edge of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they could go down and just, put them out and
harvest
what they could. Of course, God, umpteen thousand tons of it went bad. But
I
back then, they were
agree.
kind of eating it raw right off the bone, too, before they even got
And then after a while, they learned to make jerky by drying
Yep.
it over the fires
Yep.
and stuff, and that helped.
Yep, that's the
But
early days with buffalo. We owe them a lot because we
The
survived.
skin
on
and
them.
hides did not go to waste.
No, yeah,
no matter what.
you could say that the old bison was really partly responsible for early man's survival.
Mm-hmm.
Gave them their furs and kept them, warm in the winter. Certainly
Their
fed them.
horns were tools.
Certainly fed them. Yeah, turned their horns in their skulls, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
bison were a big part of the advancements of culture way back when.
Yeah.
Just like taming bringing in the original wolf into the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's been some research recently on how that worked and genetically kind of how it ended up happening that certain wolves would end up associating with people and becoming ultimately dogs. And very interesting story, by the way. But I'm not going to tell it here.
A lot of books have incorporated that particular piece of information into their stories. For instance, the Clan of the Cave Bear.
Yeah.
That group of books.
Yeah.
She brought
Integrates dogs
some
or
wild
integrates wolves.
animals.
Yeah.
She brought several wild animals in, and they became her pets and lived together. Now, I realize that it was fiction, but still, it was
It's-
based on some fact in there.
And the thing is, back in Planet of the Cave Bear days, that really wasn't the accepted notion of how
Correct.
wolves came to us. So
Correct.
she was
Back
a little
in the
bit
good old days.
prescient on that whole thing about how that happened. Yeah, absolutely, Amy. Absolutely.
Sad part of that
everything
is people
replaceable.
are also disposable
Yeah,
anymore.
and that's you're absolutely right, and that's one of the saddest parts of civilization nowadays is that we've gotten really, really dumb, not stupid, but dumb. Dumb meaning you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Stupid being you're unable to learn it even if it's presented to you. So we're dumb, and it's going to take something major to smarten us up, and I have a feeling that that's not too far off. Not too far off. I've been reading some very discouraging news lately about ice packs melting, and there's been another rupture down in Antarctica, and a piece of the ice shelf down there that's larger than New Jersey broke off.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and that could stay
That's
there.
true, Brett.
That could stay there and not move, or it could drift out to sea, where obviously it would take years to melt. But that one piece there could raise the sea levels by another inch or two, which would put some places underwater that aren't now. Okay, back in good old age, people's wilderness. Yeah, willfully ignorant. You're right about that. Yeah. They're deliberately stupid. Yeah.
Christy,
Patience was a
my
wolf
dad
rescue.
had a half wolf, half German Shepherd when he was
Yep.
a younger man.
I had a
And he had to protect the animal because he lived in a ranching community, and people constantly thought that his dog was a wolf and tried to kill him. So,
well, I
she was a
had
good wolf.
the dog I had was half Spanish wolf and half German Shepherd, and she was bred in Spain. I had her in Spain, brought her back to the States. Howell's Velvet Contessa. Smartest dog second smartest dog I ever had. Took me 45 minutes to teach her to close the door, and that was in one sitting, which was also odd because generally training sessions with a dog I wouldn't let go more than 15 minutes at most. But we started where, and she was just doing so much better and so much better and so much better. And and what I wanted her to do was to literally close the door all the way, not just swing it shut, which she could do. But then she'd walk over and she'd have to put her paw on it to make it click. She learned that whole thing in 45 minutes. I was amazed.
Now,
She
who
was
was
smart.
that?
Contessa, yeah, you
Oh,
never
okay.
met her, Contessa.
Yeah.
Or Tessa, as we called her. But wow,
I
what a dog.
agree, Amy. I am doing the same thing. I'm making a concerted effort to cut down on the amount that goes into the landfill from us.
Amy, you're very right about that. I'm becoming very much an opponent of plastic. The microplastics now, we are actually picking up, believe it or not, in placentas. It is crossing the barrier between mother and baby. And we are seeing microplastics already in the systems of babies before they're born. No, that ain't right. That ain't right. That's messing with some very basic biology right there, no matter how you cut it. Somehow or other that is going to screw up DNA or interfere with the formation of something. The thing is, we've been using plastics for so long, and there's so much of it in the oceans now. This is another nail in our coffin, folks, that may end up killing us.
Krista said she was hiking years ago alone and saw two wolves that just watched her.
Oh, wow.
That would be cool.
Well, that would be neat. I'd have sat down and watched them back. Say, come on, guys, come on over. Let's get acquainted. Wolves don't generally go for people, so I would not have been that afraid. They'd have to be pretty damn hungry.
Amy, I make my own produce bags and I make my own seals. I don't use stretch and seal or those things. I coat 100% fabric, 100% cotton fabric with beeswax and use that to seal things that go in the refrigerator.
Okay.
You've not seen them, but I'm doing it.
Yes, no. Yeah, reusable
Hi,
produce
Lori.
bags. Yeah, those. I used to have some of those years ago in there, and I supposedly, if I remember right, they would also help with the transpiration from the plant or the vegetable, and things would last longer in these bags. But anyway,
Humans are getting sicker because of their wasteful habits.
Firefly Farm, driving on the way back from the hospital to my parents now. Well, I hope somebody else is driving if you're watching this online. Billy, I'm not sure what you're asking about. What do you think the vaccination is for? I don't think we really need a whole lot of conspiracy theorists on top of this one, but we have a pandemic on our hands, folks. And this particular disease is rather insidious. It has the capability to morph. It could potentially be a long term, and I mean the rest of whatever time we have left on this planet. I've been, all right, well, shoot. I wasn't going to do this.
Then don't.
Remember yesterday you asked me about how much longer I thought the pandemic. Well, I gave it more thought after I talked to you about that.
Uh-oh, it was already bad.
And now I got to admit, I went back the other day to some articles that I wrote back in February and March of last year right after I got out of the hospital. I didn't even publish them. I don't think. I just wrote some stuff and tucked it away. One of them was talking about the pandemic, where I was theorizing then that it would peak around June, and we would have something in place by the end of the year to alleviate it. Well, my theory on when it was going to peak was way off because it's still climbing.
Still hasn't peaked yet.
It hasn't peaked yet. But the good news is we now have 3 different vaccines that are being demonstrated in large-scale testing, meaning 40,000 or more people are vaccinated in the test group, and then they're monitored, and reports are based on those.
Go get some, Christy.
And then the
We'll be
commission
here.
has to take a look at all those results, and then they can approve that vaccine for production and administration. Well, right now, Johnson & Johnson, just as of yesterday, has their vaccine now approved. The interesting thing about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it does not require the sub-zero frigid storage that the others do. It can be maintained for up to 4 weeks at refrigerator temperatures. So
40 or so.
4 weeks.
No, I said 40 or so, the temperature. in
Yeah,
the
yeah, a refrigerator, 40 degrees or so. So you don't have to have all this special dry ice and, all the freezer space and all this stuff for the
I have
distribution. Nor do you have the problem with the reconstituting it from the frozen state, because it obviously has to be a liquid to be administered, which takes X number of hours. So,
good.
the logistics and planning of all of this with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to be much simpler. The drawback is that it's not quite as effective as the other 2. However, it only takes 1 vaccination, not 2. So you take 1 shot and you end up with a very, very high percentage of resistance to severe COVID. You might get a minor case, but it won't go into the severe, you're in the hospital on a ventilator kind of situation. The other 2 that are out there are running roughly 90% in that category. The Johnson & Johnson is around 70. But for certain people, that'll obviously be a better choice. Plus, in the areas where it's difficult to get to, or the storage facilities are bad, yada, yada, take this one in there. Give this to the masses there. It could be in this country or overseas. But because it's easier to handle, easier to administer, easier to transport, everything, and it's 1 shot, this will help us reach herd immunity. Once we do that, I do believe that COVID-19 is going to end up being a recurring illness in our society, maybe even annually, much like the flu. It may end up being just kind of a continual threat, and we will continue to have X number of patients or victims as time goes on, but it will level out. Right now, we've lost 500,000 Americans to this disease, which I think is disgusting. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. We've got 3 vaccines. By the end of the year, we should have 300 million people vaccinated in this country.
By the way,
Yeah.
I discovered through talking to my oldest daughter who had, well, actually both my
Yeah.
daughters had COVID, that having COVID does not make you immune.
Yeah, that kind of
It
surprises
gives you
me.
antibodies in your blood for a short period of time. I think she said 8 weeks or something like
about 90
that.
days, I thought she said.
And then you have to go have the vaccine anyway.
But I'll tell you the kind of person KJ is. She's going down now and very regularly donating blood, because her blood somehow can be used to create the antibodies needed to treat COVID. I'm not sure it's a plasma thing.
She had the antibodies in her body because she had COVID.
Right.
But it has now passed, and she has had to start having the shots as well.
Okay, but she's not donating blood anymore?
No,
Well, anyway, she did.
she did for a while while she had the
And
antibody.
good for her for doing so.
And I agree, all viruses reoccur, unfortunately.
Yeah, once they come out of hiding. This one bothers me, folks, though, I got to admit. I mean, I have a fairly good background in epidemiology. It was part of my career field when I was in the military for a long time.
I know, Amy.
And it was the study of infectious diseases. And like I've told Kay, I said pandemic was not a new word in my vocabulary in February of last year by any means. I knew a lot about pandemics. I knew a lot about things like smallpox and the transmissions of diseases and how you could turn anthrax into a weapon, etc. This, it's suspicious. I'll put it that way. How it came to be, where it came from, how it has modified itself and become even more lethal is also very suspect. Not that viruses don't do that, but the speed or the rate at which this virus is mutating is suspicious to me.
We are sticking to it as well, Brett.
Yep, most definitely sticking to the syrup. But anyway, it's and I certainly would not say that, yeah, it started here intentionally by man or whatever. But I would not rule out some sort of a mistake or error on somebody's part in some highly secret lab and something got out and here we are now. And we'll probably never know. But I'm sure if they did, they're long dead. But anyway, I think it's kind of suspicious. Frankenstein virus from evil people. Now, that's not a bad way to put it. Not a bad way to put it.
I'd say it, but
Hey,
you would delete me.
Joe, free speech is free here. I mean, yeah, if it's really,
Chrissy also thinks it was intentional.
I'm on the fence about that. I hate to come down on the side saying that I definitely feel it was deliberate, but boy, I've got my suspicions. It's really hard to see one. Now, granted, now bear with me here.
Well, YouTube would.
The coronaviruses have existed for quite a long time. This is a family of viruses. It's not one virus. This particular variety didn't show up until roughly, they estimate now probably December of 19, maybe a little earlier. But the first cases started to show up in China in January of 2020. And then, of course, it jumped from there. But the first confirmed cases that they really came up with were in January. But they, those had to incubate sometime. And they figured that whatever caused it may have been in
Hi, CB.
November or December of 2019, hence the name COVID-19.
True, Brett.
What did Brett
Brett
say?
says critical thinking isn't conspiracy theory.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Can I borrow that?
I imagine.
Maybe that's what I'm not. I'm a critical thinker. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That's me. Okay.
Depending on who
Yeah,
you
Christy,
talk to.
viruses are. I mean, I saw simulations years and years ago about how literally a virus would spread in the connected world of then, not even now. And back then, this was 20, 30, maybe even 40 years ago, of how quickly a virus could spread from one point of origin,
1918 Spanish flu.
literally worldwide. That one had a lot of help, but that one was a lot more devastating than it should have been because of the war. Also the truth about them not being treated is we didn't know how to treat them. We didn't know what to do with this virus. All they were doing was giving supportive therapy. Supportive therapy is not going to save you from a fatal disease, period. All it does is, you could actually say that the folks that were in the hospitals, they were in just hospice care because they were doomed from the time they went in, unless they had enough native resistance to where their body could muster some defense against something they had not seen before and still survive. Now, the thing was, that wasn't necessarily the healthiest because COVID killed a lot of really, really healthy people who were young and tough. And immunologically, you would think sound. They weren't. But, middle-aged and even older folks, some survived. We know not why. But there was something about their makeup that got them through it. Just like KJ. KJ survived. And
Both of my daughters survived.
It could have, yeah, they had it together. Mm-hmm. They either one or both of them could have died.
Yes.
Neither went to the hospital. Neither had to go on a ventilator. So, there's a wide range of how you're affected by this virus. That, again, is suspect. So, again, but anyway. Escape by deemed someone was careless and I got out of rush. I can't disagree with that, Daffodil. I cannot see anything in that logic that I could point to and say, nah, it can't be that. Because you're right. It could have been any or all of those factors. Yep. Or, God help us, it could have been intentional.
I agree with not forcing people to do it. If you don't want to have whatever, you should be able to choose. HCQ is now an acceptable treatment, but you won't see that on anything. What is HCQ? Do you know?
No.
Okay, Brett, enlighten us. What is HCQ?
Novavax came out so fast, wouldn't be surprised if certain people already had protection against it. That's a good point, Christy. But the thing is, that protection would have been inborn. It would not have been introduced from the outside. It would have been something they already had in their DNA, in their blood cells, and so on and so forth. Because the only way that a virus can work is it goes in and invades a cell. The cell doesn't reject it, so it generates millions of copies of itself. And when it goes out, it overwhelms the resistance, or basically the white blood cells. It copies them and then starts to replicate again. So it keeps fooling your cells.
Hydroxychloroquine. Quine.
Yeah, that's the stuff for malaria.
It's what?
It's for malaria.
Oh, okay.
What I'm going to say about that is go ahead and give it a try. If it works for you, more power to you.
Christy's daughter was very sick with it. Took one dose of HCQ and was better.
Okay, that's why I say if it works for you, go for it. I don't see any national distribution programs for it, but hey,
I don't see anybody. Well, it's not something Big Pharma can make lots of money on.
Big Pharma is absolutely losing their freaking shirts on this deal. Okay, Johnson & Johnson will be distributing 30 million doses of this product at no cost to the consumer, and they're biting the bullet on all. The government's not paying them jack.
And in the future, when all these other things come up that it was caused by, they'll make their money back.
I'm not going to. Well, I'll tell you what. Here's how I look at it. If this drug company steps up, because I was watching the program the other night that was talking to the heads of some of these drug companies and their motivation for doing this. Money will end up coming to them, yes. But every single one of those folks impressed me as going into this to find a cure as a responsibility, not as a research effort to make money, but as a responsibility to mankind, to themselves, to their fellow human beings. And they said, we have the facilities, we have the expertise, let's get with it. And they put people to work on this, absorbing the costs by themselves. Now, there was a fund set up, $3 billion, I think it was. And so a lot of them drew on that. But, the thing is, 3 different vaccines now on the market, all of which are being given to us free. I don't know.
Michigan, today it is overcast and it's in the low 70s. It looks like it could be winter out there, except we've got the door open and it's not cold.
I don't think the no cost to the consumer's insurance thing, it's free of charge, is the way they're putting it out there. Just free of charge, period. Now, later on, will there be money made on the back end of this? Absolutely. Frankly, I don't resent that. I don't begrudge them the money. If they cure COVID and keep me from dying from it, I'll give them a couple bucks, What the fuck? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, what's the language of YouTube's going to cut us off?
Slap me upside the head. I just punished myself. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Facebook. I take it back. I'm sorry. I was reading earlier today about a guy that got banned for life from Facebook. What the hell could you possibly do to get banned for life other than be a politician?
Every time I hear somebody getting banned, I think,
we agree to disagree on that one.
We had a wonderful life before it came along, so what difference does it make if you get banned?
Yeah, I know you're thinking on some issues, and I could have written beforehand that we were going to disagree on that one. But that's okay. There's always someone at 12 o'clock and always someone at 6 o'clock. So Well, I don't know
Matter of
what's.
fact, it's so warm, I'm fanning myself over here. Country Homestead Preacher, welcome.
Yeah, is another stimulus check on its way? That'd be cool.
Yeah, but all the people that do their taxes and discover that these stimulus checks are being taxed are not very happy. Let's see, Diamond Willow. Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
do we have any more prayer requests? Because we've been on for an hour and a half now.
oh, it's about time to go, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What was my favorite station when in the military? Wow. I'd have to say Izmir, Turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
More than Spain?
Well, in terms of enjoy,
Okay.
or my favorite state, there was more to do in Turkey, and it was a very alien world that we lived in. I got to see some things that people here. I mean, I've been to Mary's house. The last
You've been to what?
Mary's house,
Okay.
the last known residence of Mary before she died. I've been to one of the 7 original churches. The church in Izmir was Smyrna,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been inside that church that stood over 2,000 years ago. So, I've been to Pamukkale, which is a mineral bath where you sit on the pillars that were put there by the Romans whenever they ran that part of the Aegean Sea and had all their massive amphitheaters and so on set up. In fact, I've sat in the amphitheater.
So you've bathed in a 2,000-year-old bathtub, huh?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And it's warm water. It's mineral water.
Resolution 2 problem.
It was wonderful. It was great. So yeah, I got to see more, do more, be amazed more, impressed more in Turkey. But Spain also had some wonderful stuff. I mean, I stood at the base of the statue that the Spaniards made to the dead on both sides of the Spanish Civil War.
Oh, by
In
the
what
way,
they're called Valle de los Caídos, which is the Valley of the Fallen.
for those who also hide metal for breakfast, for those of you who keep prayer lists, I would like to add my brother-in-law, Ron. He was hospitalized yesterday. He has very severe COPD, and he could not catch his breath. And I have not heard yet how he's doing, but just add him to it. He's a tough guy, and he would not have gone to the hospital or to the ER unless he was really, really having
I think he
problems.
probably had to be drugged, even though he was having trouble breathing.
Yeah.
Joe, the military being fun. Parts of it were, yeah. I mean, 95% of the time it's just a 9-to-5 job, but you got to go do it in some really interesting places. Well, being in Hawaii, that's sort of being out of the country, but not quite yet. Prayers for sleep.
Write you down, Christy. Yes, you do, Brett. And that is,
And thank you for your service there too, Brett. By God, I appreciate you guys. It's like I was telling you the other day, when we called 911 this last time for me to go in, there were 6 big, burly fire department personnel standing in my bedroom. And I asked Kate if she could she feel the testosterone in the room? I don't think she heard me, but the firemen all laughed. But they were some big dudes. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to take my break. It's about time to go watch some golf.
okay.
Yeah, Brett, I can't tell you how much I really appreciate the job that you and the guys that work with you, and essentially anybody who is a firefighter. I mean, what a calling. Knowing
Amy is,
running toward a fire is
I'm sorry.
not something I can do.
I
Go
gotta
ahead.
interrupt this.
I'm sorry.
Brett says Amy is a hero. Amy is a woman's woman. Her husband does something that takes him away from home, and she keeps the home fires burning and keep things going until he's able to come back.
I understand that too.
She is a woman's woman.
Yep.
And that's the
And-
highest
and
praise I
that's-
can give any female.
The wives of people like in police departments and fire departments and so on, when they send their mates off to go to work, the possibility exists to a higher degree that they may not come back
Right.
than sending somebody off to the office. So yeah, there's a definite kudo to be handed to any woman who is married to a firefighter, or any guy married to a firefighter for that matter, I
You
guess.
see what Brett says? Even though we disagree
I agree
sometimes,
with
he
that
loves
too,
you.
Brett. I agree with that too. I have a feeling if we were to argue face to face, we might get bruised. But I swear to
don't.
God, I love you, buddy. Um,
Amy and I would step in and stop that from happening.
Possibly. We just have to go to our own corners and pout, probably. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm out of here, Don.
Okay.
Thank you for coming by today, folks. Very
We're
much.
gonna prayer list. Yes, you
very
are
much
on
a
our prayer
pleasure.
list, Susanna.
I don't know if I should apologize for spouting off so much or not. But anyway, y'all take care and have a good day. Yep. And amen to you too, Amy. I greatly respect you and women like you who have the heart and the courage to stay behind and
I
do
agree,
just what
Amy.
you're doing. There you go.
Ask
Yeah,
for prayer
our
for
values do
Otis
match
Sims,
up.
Birmingham police officer.
I agree with that too, Brett. We just the ways and means we might differ on, but yeah, our basic values are the same. You're right. Thank you, Ruth. I intend to. I've got hopefully some interesting golf to watch. We'll see. Not sure who's going to win yet. It's, I don't know if one of my guys is going to make it through or not. Okay.
Let's see.
Later, darling.
Birmingham. Goodness, I have a whole page full of prayer requests today. That's great. Take care, ain't no Oatsy. Sorry. Christy, see, people need to be able to disagree and still respect each other. Christy, that is something that Brett and Amy put forward all the time. They have said every time I've been in a situation where there were others in the room or on the chat that disagree, they've always said we can disagree or agree to disagree and not become enemies.
That's right.
Let's see. Prayers for Tiger Woods. Yes. Honey, Ruth is requesting prayers for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he's in a bad way. He's in a bad way. He will probably never play competitive golf again.
Right.
That's my guess.
Yeah, he's gone through so much. He may surprise us all and come right back.
If anybody can do it, he will, but I
Right.
highly doubt it. It won't be the leg, it'll be the ankle that does him in.
Michigan, you take care, and we will see you next time. Disagree with respect. Thank you, Brett. I knew I was not quite getting it, but I knew you would come in and do it. Prayers for Mr. Potato Head. Okay, Brett, we'll put that on the list too. Okay, we got it.
Oh, boy.
Zipping around and around in here. You think that's funny, huh, Amy? You see, he's pulling his oxygen tube through. Hold on, honey, I'll have to come help.
Okay.
Hang on just a second, folks. I got to go help him get his oxygen tank through.
Thank you, dear.
There you go. That should do it. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nothing like teamwork. Is that what you call Brett, Mr. Potato Head? No, that's referring to their live stream yesterday. We have had quite a discussion today. I'm really amazed at how well it's gone. Oh, Amy, again, thank you for that video on the dog food. It pointed up a couple of things that I had forgotten goes in there. Yes, Christy, that is David and me. We are helpmates and sweethearts. And it took us a long time to find each other. I'm so glad we finally did. Well, as I said, we've been on for an hour and a half, and I think I'm going to go ahead and close it down. And we will see you all next week. I'm hoping if Mom and Dad stay in good health this week, I'll actually be able to do some videos. This past week was kind of tough on them. Dad is going downhill very quickly. His memory is getting worse, and he's starting to become frustrated. So, hello, Barbara's Rule. It's good to see you. We're unfortunately closing things down, but I'm glad you came by. Anyway, Dad is becoming frustrated with his memory loss and getting grumpy with Mom, and Mom has her own problems. So thank you, Amy. I spend a lot of time over there helping them. It's really funny. Dad has now decided that if anything is wrong and they can't figure out something, call Kate. She can solve it, whatever it is. Cajun Prepstetter had to switch to this account real quick to give another thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate that, Brett. Well, Ellie, they're 91. It's not all that surprising that these things are starting to happen. I feel very blessed that I've had them for as long as I have, So, Ruth, I thank you for coming by. I really appreciated your visit. I appreciated all of you coming by and visiting with us. It is the highlight of our week to be able to sit here and visit with you guys and laugh and be serious and whatever happens. It truly is a blessing for us. Daddy sent their girls home to the moon. Well, I agree, Christy. He is not my daddy. He is my stepdad, and they have only been married 17 years, but he and I have a very strong relationship, and he seems to think that I know how to do things that nobody else in the world does. So I try and live up to it as much as I can. You guys take care. Thank you for coming. You just don't have any idea. Thank you. I appreciate it, Bugs. Be safe this coming week. Take care of yourselves. Tell the people around you that you care for, that you do care for them, because you're not guaranteed the next breath. Let everybody know just how special they are. We love you too. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, all of you. Goodbye.